When it comes to AI, how do companies really see your data? Is it just a resource to be dug up and sold, or is it something more, like a trust that needs protecting? That one single choice, it changes absolutely everything. And today, we're going to break down exactly how.
All right, before we jump in, just a quick note. This is part 5 of a big 15-part overview we're doing on a research report from Virtualization Options LLC. So as you can imagine, we're only scratching the surface of what's in the full report. And of course, this is all for informational purposes. It's not legal advice. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get started. So let's kick things off with a really big question. Think about it. When a company uses your data for its AI, what are they really doing? Are they mining for gold, just trying to extract as much value as they can? Or are they building a sacred trust with you? Because how they answer that question, well, it defines their entire approach to AI. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about this big data governance divide. Then we'll dive into the two main approaches, what we're calling the data mine and the data trust. After that, we'll see how this affects a company's AI capabilities. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by talking about why this distinction is so incredibly important. All right, first up, the data governance divide. And let me tell you, this isn't just about some boring policy documents. We're talking about something way deeper. It's like a fundamental split in a company's DNA. And it all boils down to this one key choice. Every single decision a company makes about your data, how they collect it, how they use it, how they protect it, it all comes from their answer to one question. Are we focused on our shareholders, or are we focused on our customers? That single decision sends them down one of two completely different paths. Okay, so let's explore that first path, the shareholder approach. And a good way to think about this is like a data mine. Your information is seen as a valuable resource, something to be dug up and used. And this quote from the report really nails the mindset here. It says, data is seen primarily as a strategic asset to be leveraged for competitive advantage and revenue generation. I mean, that's pretty clear, right? It's all about using data to get ahead and make money. And that philosophy, it drives every single decision they make. So what does this look like in the real world? Well, for starters, they're going to try to collect as much data as they possibly can, right up to the legal line. And they're always thinking, what could this be worth someday? Then you get those consent forms. They're written to be legally solid, sure, but they're also designed to nudge you into sharing more. When it comes to security, it's a financial calculation. How much do we spend versus the risk? And if you ever want to get your data, good luck. The process is built for their efficiency, not to be easy for you. All right, now let's look at the other side of the coin, the customer approach. This is what we're calling the data trust. And the whole perspective just flips on its head here. The quote says, strong privacy protections are positioned as a market differentiator and trust-building mechanism. So privacy isn't just a box to check for legal compliance. No, it's a way to win. It's how you build trust with your customers and actually stand out from the competition. And that changes absolutely everything. And you can see this in their actions, right? Privacy isn't an afterthought. It's built in from the very beginning. They actually want to give you control with privacy tools that are easy to find and use. They're not trying to grab everything. Instead, they're asking, what do we really need to make this better for our customer? Security isn't just about avoiding fines. It's about protecting that relationship. And if you want your data, the process is designed to be painless and straightforward for you. Okay, so we've got these two totally different philosophies, the mine versus the trust. But what does this actually mean for their AI? What's the impact? Where do these two paths ultimately lead when it comes to technology? Well, it turns out there are some pretty big trade-offs, no matter which path you choose. If you go the shareholder-focused route, yeah, you might end up with bigger data sets and maybe even more powerful AI, but you're also taking on a ton of regulatory and reputational risk. On the other hand, the customer-focused path is great for building trust and getting people to actually use your products. The challenge there, though, is that you might have some constraints on your AI's performance. So let's just lay this out clearly. If you're a shareholder-focused company, your big advantage is you can potentially build more sophisticated AI models. The challenge? You're constantly walking a tightrope, managing security threats and regulatory headaches. Now, if you're customer-focused, your advantage is huge. People trust you and are more likely to use your AI. The challenge for your tech team, though, is how to get that same high performance when you're working with less data. All right, so why does any of this matter? We've talked about these two different corporate philosophies, but let's get down to brass tacks. Why should you, personally, care about this distinction? Because this isn't some abstract business school debate. This choice directly impacts you.
It determines your rights over your own data. It decides whether you can actually trust the AI that's becoming part of your daily life. And ultimately, it shapes the kind of digital world that these companies are building for all of us.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. As AI gets more and more powerful, as it weaves itself deeper into the fabric of our lives, which path do you want companies to take? The data mine or the data trust? Because the choice they make, well, that's going to define the world we all end up living in.